so I needed some points to discuss at that point also.
We are not going to switch over. We still have the same standpoint.
No, we are not switching now.
Yeah.
There is no time.
There is no time of switching here. I think we have already put our thoughts, and your explanation was really good. And if you wouldn't have given that, I would have done that. So if you have any queries, then
yeah, maybe someone can.
The whole marketing maximum of Agile, it's like it's dynamic, involvement of the customer and everything fast, right? Everything we are doing, we are in a hurry, we want to achieve, we go to, looks great. PMP talks all those things, but in a more disciplined way.
agreed.
Okay? So, just saying that everything is, we can achieve everything, for example, you talk about people, teammates who decide everything. Senior management sitting here know how much GM and revenue is important nowadays.
Right.
They are involving blend of freshers, okay, and the expert. So you expect everyone on the same level to take the decisions whenever they meet on the same dynamic nature, even the team is globally placed, different time zones. Is it practically feasible? One thing I noticed in my organization, what we call in Agile, the meeting that is 15 minutes. I'm not Agile expert. They have blocked in a calendar. Scrum, and they have blocked the calendar. I thought, okay, it's 15 minutes done, let me check out. They said, we are doing a Scrum. I said, boss, it's already half an hour, Scrum continues. So this is the practical relevance. And those who are using this, they can very well go 15 minutes. It's not practical, boss.
Right.
So it's not like utopic things talking about, okay, more. I would go for the PMP things because it talks about the disciplines. In the initial stages, it talks about the stakeholder, checks and the balances, get signed copy.
Right.
You know, my friend, it looks fun. It looks like, in Agile, it looks like you want to explore a petrol, diesel, crude oil, and you end up getting a coal. Obviously, this much clarity you should have in the initial stages. Okay, those much of flexibility, minor changes, PMP does allow.
See those scrum, okay, let me talk about those scrums.
So,
those scrums basically are a review meeting. A review meeting where every person says that what he has done yesterday and what he is doing today. Nothing more than that. Just to brief everyone.
Okay, I think
It's a good question, and now then when we are on a neutral point, both of us, we were just having a cup of tea outside and we were discussing, if we get this topic, what is the approach? So, I mean, on a very neutral perspective, I would say both of them are important. Depends upon the length of the project. If a project is really big, it requires a lot of planning. Like I gave you an example of Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. It cannot be done on an agile basis, right? Obviously, we can include it and we can ensure that it's improvised upon going forward. We can accept the dynamic changes, but on a neutral standpoint, I would say proper planning should be there in place. Otherwise, huge budget is on stake, and we should ensure if there is no proper methodology in place, like my friend said, disciplined approach. Then things will, you started off preparing petrol and you land up into coal. So that is something which will happen. So yes, on a neutral standpoint, this is what is done. But if there are general projects, let's say if we are talking about developing a software module or something like that, I believe Agile would be good. Again, it depends upon two things, business impact and the length of the project. You can decide upon that.
Okay. Before I want to summarize and conclude because judges have not asked. Maybe you had many good questions already, and that's why they thought there is no need to ask a question. But I would like to ask a question involving developers. That is from PMBOK point of view. There is a particular methodology in Scrum or Agile methodology. There is a particular process of involving developers into user stories, where you make developers aware of what the practicalities of these products are going to be when it goes live and what exactly is the viewpoint of the users, so that they understand the product better, they understand the application's context in a better manner, and that helps them to really develop it from that point of view, rather than a traditional business analyst doing a detailed analysis and then passing on to the developers. So I would like to ask how is that, and I'll address that in PMB, okay? Right. Yes. So that is one.
Should I?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you say that, how come the basic question is that developers are not involved that much?
Yes. Involvement of a developer
Is less.
so that they understand the user stories.
Right. Scope management, time management. Okay. These two processes, basically, even cost management also to some extent. These two processes is that create WBS, break that WBS into activities, sequence those activities and schedule them, assign resources to them. These are done by a project manager with the help of team.
Okay. I think I have to rephrase my question. How do the developers get involved during the business analysis stage? That is my question. And because you are doing the entire detailed business analysis of a product or a service, it is very difficult to involve such a big team initially. So how does the user context and that product context and that organizational context gets passed on to developers in a traditional methodology? That is one particular question. See, because that is something which I found.
No, if you think that this is done in Agile, it is not that much true.
No, it is. I mean,
Because if you take a project of 1 year or 2 years or something like that, whether it is done in Agile or whether it is done in PMP,
both.
Okay, both, right.
I mean, what I'm saying is, how is it handled?
How it is handled.
Yeah.
Okay, so business analysis do the business analysis part. They document those things. Those documentations are passed on to the programmers.
Okay, I think.
Okay. Those documentation are passed on to the programmers and only the relevant part is given to the programmer, not the whole documentation. Then you are right. Yes, the whole documentation is not given to the programmer. He is not involved completely.
Okay, that is fine. I think that was one question. Question to you, Mohit, is about the impact of frequent changes on the production environment. I am not talking of the user benefiting. When I push a lot of changes, how do we take care of that specific change control in the production environment of frequent changes? Because if I am a user, if I am going to, my portion as per my need is changed, so I am happy. But there are other stakeholders in the user community who may also have to go through a downtime or maybe go through a particular change, which how will we deal with that situation? Second question is, in a process of calling Scrum methodology and a success of Agile, not Scrum, whatever methodology you follow, if you go for that, then is it that are we attributing the overworking of our resources to the success of Agile methodology? I want to have that particular question. I mean, in the process of following Agile methodology, are we overworking our resources or no?
Okay, so in case of more changes, the first question which in case of there are so many changes and we have to gather it. See, that is why Agile is more focused upon that. In case we know that since we are following an Agile approach right from day one, we know anytime any requirement can come up. And that is why we plan to have regular discussions and involvement of team and also customer feedback to ensure that those requirements are met. In case, and that relates to your second question also, in case if we are handling those requests or providing in the resolution on an early time basis, and in order to achieve that, instead of having 2 resources, we include 5 resources, then your second question comes up, or maybe multiply the working hours of those 2 resources to ensure that we are actually delivering what customer requires, then I think that is actually handled in Agile because people know that we are following the Agile methodology. They are ready for dynamic changes and they make sure that those changes are implemented. Because when a plan is made, there is no defined time period or a resource name or something which is working on that. So if we have to include more technology or more manpower, then that is actually the whole objective of Agile, that as and when an ad hoc basis requirement comes up, that is handled.
So to summarize, because overall discussion which I have realized is we definitely none of either Agile methodology or PMBOK would ignore the architecting part of it, the enterprise architecture and the good design part of it. That is assumed that is there. Good design and right architecture, enterprise architecture is there. Assuming that, next step is, if I want to do a planning part of it, I would follow a PMBOK methodology. I would not argue versus. I will not say Agile versus PMP.
Right.
I would follow a project management methodology at a top level to bring up the project management plan, but to an activity which is very specific to a function, which is a developer's work.
Right.
The portion of that is where I apply Agile.
Right.
So I would treat project management methodology, any be it BPM, BOK, or be it Prince2 or any other methodology that you may have, your own development. I would put it as horizontal, and I would put developers' work into Agile methodology, and I'll use the combination of two to deliver the project success.
Right. And
is that what we can conclude here?
No. That's what I think. No.
Why we cannot conclude?
Because Agile also has a product burn down everything.
Yeah, so the product burn down chart, it is it's a WBS.
No, what
It is not WBS. Okay, it is not WBS.
May I clarify your point? What you're saying?
The work of a developer is a WBS one package.
Correct.
Okay, the developer's work is what I am handling as a part of my Scrum method, Agile methodology. Why are you considering one particular product backlog?
What he's trying to say is that in order to baseline and start up in a disciplined manner, let's go with PMP or any other traditional methodology.
Horizontal definition, if I consider developer as a vertical or a functional function of our organization,
Right.
I would consider the functional work to be executed with the help of Agile methodology.
Right.
And when I am talking about cross-functional coordination and communication,
That has to be
I would have to have a project
Right.
management
And that actually says
which includes my financial function, which includes my project
Yeah,
management.
then it makes sense.
And that's what I said.
That makes sense.
That the baseline will be done through a traditional methodology, and Agile will then act as a catalyst to ensure that we either on time or before time achieve what has to be delivered. And that's what you said, that if we have cross-functional PMP alignment and on a vertical functional basis, if everybody knows, finance team knows what they have to do,
Correct.
HR knows what they have to do. They do not have to, be very, very aligned to, okay, this is my dependency. They know what they have to do.
And the burn-down chart that I am preparing is at a developer level.
That's
Not at a, I don't prepare a burn-down chart at an organized level, right? If I
No, you are incorrect actually. I like to highlight
Yes.
there is a misconception actually what you are
Yeah.
driving upon actually.
That's what I was saying.
See, there is a release planning which is there in the Agile also, which is one of the most important concept, like level 5 of CMM, I think. So it's like release planning where we decide upon how we are gonna plan ahead, and it's in small pieces also. We do release planning on incremental basis where we talk about how we are gonna do it for 1 month or for say 1 year, or depending upon how we want to go ahead. So that is already also.
Yeah, so, yeah, mic is not working.
Actually, that's okay. I believe not. So there is release planning, which helps deciding upon how we are going to go ahead. There is a slicing, what you are saying, which is very similar to the traditional one. But here, I would like to highlight one more thing. PMP is not a traditional one. It itself is a good framework. Traditional was something else. It was talking about we should not go ahead after without deciding upon one thing. We should first finish.
No, it doesn't talk about like that.
It was like that. Traditional was that.
I think, sir, again, the discussion will take, if we have time, let's focus upon it, I'm ready.
Otherwise, yeah.
But then there was, like somebody said, let's respect Judge's ring. So,
Because I think
There's some misunderstanding of what I was trying to say. Okay, so, okay. Thanks. I think someone can conclude later on after the feature.